guys, welcome back to Telltale. I'm Emily, and today I'm going to be doing a quick discussion of A For Andromeda. This is by Fred Hoyle and John Elliot. This is a futuristic sci-fi novel. Futuristic in that it's actually written a decade after it was published. And what year was this published again? I think it was like in the 50s or something. 1962. So Professor Fred Hoyle is an astrophysicist. This was written in collaboration with the dramatist from BBC and film, John Elliot. Uh, so they wrote this together. It's actually based off of a serial series that's not on BBC. I have not successfully found the serial series yet. I would love to see it. It sounds really, really cool. But yeah, so this is a really great quick read novel. As you can see, it's not a very long book. It took me forever to read it just because I kept having life stuff happen. But I really enjoyed this. I kept coming back to it and kept persisting getting through it, even though I had other things that were much thicker and much more prominent and pressing to read for Telltale. This was a really enjoyable read, and it was very quick. The action was really well done. The science was well explained. I understand that from what I understand, it was pretty accurate. Because, Fred Hoyle, as a professor, would probably rather have things be as accurate as possible. But it was really enjoyable, and things were explained really well, so I didn't feel like I was super lost. Especially because I'm not a science person. I'm kind of one of those people who leans very heavily on plausible deniability when it comes to literature. But this one was really, really well done. I enjoyed it a lot. So, premise, really interesting, kind of written in a Cold War vibe time. So, there's this basically, this really high tech radio satellite has finally been built. It's the highest tech, most accurate, has the most up to date, really like highly sought after technology in it. And the second they turn it on, they start receiving transmissions from the Andromeda constellation. So the scientists are like, whoa, like we're getting actual radio frequencies from some kind of alien thing from space. Wow. That was a big deal. So they decided they were going to try and decipher what they were getting. A lot of it was mathematics. So the reason they used that was because it seems numerics are like the most universal language of any intelligent creature. And so they decide they're going to start deciphering it. And Dr. Fleming, who is like the main scientist, kind of protagonist in this story, besides one of the female characters who I'll get to in a second, he starts deciphering it because he's, super intelligent. In fact, he ends up being kind of the most intelligent scientist on the team and the most important one. He ends up realizing that this is a computer program and computer, like a supercomputer instructions. And so they go forward after getting the okay from the government to actually build this supercomputer. And as they build this supercomputer, they kind of start realizing that the computer is back and forth asking questions in using like chemistry and things like that to try and figure out what kind of intelligent life and what kind of biology humans have. So over the course of this, you have this artificial intelligence that is trying to get these humans to build a living being. The first one they successfully do. It's not humanoid at all. It's very alien. They call it the Cyclops. It's kind of like a blob with some sensory organs and an eye. They keep it in a tank. It can't survive outside of the tank. Then they realize they can connect it to the computer and they can communicate, and it's all this really weird, like crazy sci-fi stuff. And then eventually, the computer actually gets in like contact with one of the team members and ends up killing her. Unfortunately, one of the scientists touches a probe and ends up getting killed, but it uses the information it received from her touching that probe in order to be able to actually build a humanoid being, and it ends up killing off the previous creature, like sensory creature that the scientists ended up building. As this is going on, Dr. Fleming is starting to realize, like, why does this supercomputer want this information? And who is it sending it to? So he starts having these suspicions that this supercomputer is basically trying to obtain information about human life, either to make it better or to annihilate it. He's leaning more towards annihilation because, of course, it's a Cold War kind of era feel. So everybody's just worried about each other eliminating everybody else. But also, he's using a lot of like deductive reasoning to really figure out like this isn't normal. Like there's something really going on here. After they actually build a human, they name her Andromeda, and he starts having conversations with Andromeda on and off. They're always very strained because he's extremely suspicious of her. And over time, she just kind of obviously reveals to him, like, yeah, you're in the way. Humans are in the way. They're not perfect. I'm perfect. Like there's this huge struggle between that which is human and imperfect and that which appears to be human is definitely alien and perceives itself as perfect. Um, and the conflict that starts to bring up. In all of this, there's also a female protagonist, and she is part of national security who is meant to keep an eye on the other scientists because they suspect that they're selling the secrets of what they're doing to other nations and things like that, particularly Russia and Germany. Heavily hinted, of course, Cold War stuff. Not surprising. So, there's a little drama dynamic because she starts having feelings for Dr. Fleming. There's, all kinds of things going on. She's posing as their PR person and that kind of thing to keep an eye on everybody. It's really, really an interesting, great drama story. It brings up a lot of questions about what it means to be human, what makes humans tick biologically, what makes us tick psychologically. It leans a little bit heavy on the Freudian psychology stuff, as most things do. That's not unusual. So there's kind of this heavy, like, sex drive implication of what makes humans tick. And of course, it adds great drama. Of course, there's a little sexism in there because, 1950s and 60s, that was very common, especially in sci fi, but no more so than you would encounter at the local bar today. So I found that even though it had those things, like the sexism and stuff, it was easy to overlook because the drama that it added to the story seemed necessary. Also, it kind of built the characters well for you because, even your protagonists, you kind of love to hate them because they aren't perfect and they lean heavily on the fact that humans are imperfect. So they really set the stage well that you have all of these characters that are very imperfect beings and have a lot of glaring flaws. So I appreciated that they set it up that way because, of course, that makes it more obvious when you do the compare and contrast between the humans who are natural earth-born humans and then you have this being that is humanoid but definitely built by humans and alien. It's also really interesting because you're dealing with lots of espionage and political stuff that's going on because, of course, the government, once this computer is, found to be as intelligent as it is, and Andromeda is created to kind of interact with the computer. And so, like, it's this dynamic duo that the government's like, ooh, we could use this to solve military problems. We could use this to solve economic problems. We could feed the information to this computer and then Andromeda can process it and tell us what we need to do in order to fix all these problems. But over time, you start realizing that Andromeda's not there to fix the problems. Andromeda's kind of there to cause drama. Until she starts realizing that because she was biologically made human, certain parts of her are going to kind of take over her cognitive reasoning if they are triggered, so to speak. So there's kind of like these different triggers that psychologically play into things. And of course, again, you start talking about romance and the sex drive and things like that, kind of clouding her ability to logically reason a lot of things. And of course, when she encounters fear, when she starts encountering consequences and fear, and starting to realize like her interaction with this computer can suffer consequences because the previous creature that existed was actually killed off, experiencing death and things like that. It brings a lot of questions together, that you kind of see in a lot of stories about artificial intelligence and what makes humans humans. So I really appreciated it. It's not a very long book, but it touches on so much and brings up so much great information. It was a pleasure to read. The action was very quick. It's like what, 12 chapters, 10 chapters? It's not a lot. 12 chapters. And it is really, really interesting. I love how all the chapters start with the letter A, because it goes through arrival, announcement, acceptance, anticipation, atoms, alert, analysis, agony, acceleration, achievements, antidote, and annihilation. That's the name of all of the chapters. So everything starts with the letter A. You kind of have that whole like A for Andromeda kind of thing going on, which also speaks to her learning language, Andromeda herself actually learning language. It's just a really great, fast sci-fi read, great classic. I would love to find the serial series on BBC if I can. Yeah, I recommend it. I'm really excited to see if I can get Greg to read this because it's a really cool book and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the questions it brought up. I enjoyed the fast pace of the action. I enjoyed the character development, the complexity of the characters, the complexity of the science, but still like being able to explain it in very plain language. This was just really well done. And the drama, of course, balances the sci fi part really, really well, makes it a great, quick, fast read. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.